All right, good evening, everyone. We are going to get started. If you're sitting at the back, standing at the back, if you could come take a seat, that would be great. So I am first on the agenda. My name is Shannon Duffy, and I happen to be Mike's wife. This is the 5th year we've done the Happiness Hall of Fame, but only the 2nd I have been asked to introduce him. The first was last year, so apparently I did a good job, so yay me. Thank you. And it was crazy because I was reflecting on the fact that this was the 5th year that we had done this. And like most things, I was thinking, where was I last year? What has happened, in the past year since the last Happiness Hall of Fame? And I was reflecting on everything, and there was a lot of really good things. But I was also thinking about the first part of this year, which, to be honest with you, was not the best year we'd ever had. So we were moving, which on one hand was incredibly exciting. We were moving into a new house. But if you have children and you've lived in a house for 10 years, my children are hoarders, so that was very stressful to have to move that. And Mike, while very happy, is also a hoarder. Sorry, love you, baby. So that was stressful. And then, of course, there's job stress. We always have job stress that's going around. But honestly, the most profound thing about the first part of the year is we had a very, very serious illness in our family. My father was terminally ill for about 3 months. And it came out of the blue, it was shocking, and there was a good 3-month period where we didn't know if he was going to make it to the next day. And it was a pretty dark time, for lack of a better word. And, Mike's happy, Mike's always happy, and it was so great to have that rock, that person that has perspective through this. But I actually thought back to all the different Happiness Hall of Fames that I've sat through and listened to these people that are changing the world and changing their own lives on their quest for happiness. And there's always a common theme, and that is gratitude. And my favorite quote in the whole world, that some of you probably have heard, is right now someone is praying for something you take for granted. And every morning I would get up and I would be like, how am I going to get through this day? Just thinking about my father and everything I had to get done. And I would come back to that. And then slowly but surely, the darkness was replaced by gratitude. And the gratitude turned to happiness. So I'm so excited for this 5th installation of the Happiness Hall of Fame to hear the great stories we have tonight. And I'm so happy to introduce the happiest man I know and my husband, the founder of the Happiness Hall of Fame, Mike Duffy.
Well, thank you. Welcome to the Happiness Hall of Fame. Give everyone a round of applause for coming out. We really appreciate it. Tonight is just a wonderful evening. It's always that, the first Friday of every November. A lot has happened in the 6 years that I started this award ceremony in the hall. And I've gotten to meet some incredible people. People like Muhammad Ali. I've gotten to know some people that are just unbelievably famous and brilliant, and I got to learn from them. And some of the stories that I have, I've written about in my books. And for example, when I met Muhammad Ali and his wife invited me to come out to meet them so that I could induct him personally, I remember packing my suitcase and saying to Shannon, wow, this is for real. This is actually happening. I can't believe this. So I go out and I meet Lonnie. Muhammad's wife is beautiful. And I spent a couple of hours with them. And I filmed them for the movie that I'm making, the Happiness Hall of Fame. And Lonnie told me some stories that even though I've heard almost every story about Muhammad, I couldn't believe this one. So she said, what a lot of people don't know about Muhammad is that he's an extreme giver. She says, let me put this into context. When we lived in LA, people would just knock on our door, and Muhammad would say, oh, come right in. Would you like lunch? Can you stay for dinner? And then over dinner, Muhammad would be like, so where are you staying? Some of them would say, I have no place to stay. He goes, yes, you do. You're staying with us. And Lonnie's eyebrows would go up like this, she told me. She's just like, who are these strangers staying with us? And sometimes they'd spend a few days, a week, 2 weeks. And she says, I always waited for Muhammad to go out to run an errand. And I'd go over to the window and watch the back of his car to go down the block. And as soon as that car was gone, I would say, okay, you're out of my house now. And she says, Muhammad would come back and be like, where's Jerry? And she goes, oh, Jerry. Well, he sends us her cards, but you know Jerry. One day he's here, the next he's not. Classic Jerry. Jerry Bear had to go, honey, right? And I got to have Dolly Parton make a video for the movie. Dolly Parton is America's treasure. So she actually went into a studio, sat on this beautiful couch with pendant lights behind her, and she's holding my award, and she says, people always ask me, Dolly, are you always happy? And I say, happy? This isn't happiness. This is my Botox. My beautiful daughter, Kendall, is sitting right there, and she has such a giving heart. So when I was inducting Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity into the hall, they invited me up to their convent in San Francisco. So I thought that this would be a perfect time to let Kendall meet amazing women who give their lives for other people. How often do you get to do that? So we went up to the city, and we got this big tray of cupcakes, and we went into the convent, and all the sisters were really, really happy, big smiles on their faces. And I said, Kendall, get in there with Mother Superior and let me take a picture of you with the award and Mother Superior. And she says, oh, Mr. Duffy, we're not allowed to take photographs. And I thought, wow, how crazy is that? But it works, right? And she says, and as for these cupcakes, we won't be eating them. We're going to be giving these to our friends, our homeless friends on the street. She says, Mother Teresa said, don't worry about the numbers. Every person that you encounter in need, give to them. And it was at that moment that the Happiness Hall of Fame homeless outreach was born. So 6 mornings a week, I go out and I find homeless people and I make friends with them and I learn their names and I find them again. And it's really, really what I look forward to every morning is to make a new friend on the street. And I help them, I pray with them, and sometimes I make their dreams come true. So one of my friends on the street, his name is Zach. And Zach, maybe some of you have seen him. Zach begs on University Avenue in Palo Alto. He always has a San Francisco Giants hat on. And after getting to know him for a couple of years, I said, Zach, what are your dreams? And he said, well, my dream is to meet the players of the San Francisco Giants. And I said, okay. I said, let me work on that for you. So a few years ago, the San Francisco Giants, who were in the hall, had come out here, and right on the stage, they had their 3 World Series trophies. And Bill Schlau, who's their CIO, got so wrapped up in the energy of this environment, he said, you know what? I'm going to take off my 3 gold World Series rings, and I'm going to pass them out. And you guys can take pictures with them and feel what it's like, how heavy they are. And he goes, when you're done, just hand them back. 30 minutes later, I'm sitting right there. Bill Schlau comes up to me with a gray face. He goes, I'm missing one of my rings. I said, this is the Happiness Hall of Fame. Don't worry about it. Nobody's going to take your ring. So it turns out my friend Octavio was out there doing like an Instagram, shot, him and his wife, like an expose with his ring. So he got his ring back. But I called Bill, and I said, Bill, can you make this kid's dream come true? I said, he's never been able to stand up. In order for him to move, he has to drag himself around by the knuckles. He says, Mike, absolutely. How does this sound? You bring up Zach. The game starts at 7:15. It'll be the Dodgers game, so everyone loves that game, right? And he goes, you guys can come out to batting practice. You can actually go on the field. So I go down to University Avenue. I get Zach's wheelchair, fold it up, toss it in the back of my car. We go up there. A representative from the Giants is actually standing outside with a big bag of swag for Zach, new hats, sweaters, gloves. He can't believe it. we get ushered onto the field itself. And there's the Giants, and there's the Dodgers during batting practice. And in about 5 minutes, Zach was surrounded by his heroes. And every time I see Zach, he always smiles and says, "Mike, thank you for the greatest day of my life." Right? The San Francisco Giants are just an incredible organization. Dr. Wayne Dyer is in the hall. 6 years ago, he was actually somebody that encouraged me to start the hall. Now, for those of you who don't know Dr. Wayne Dyer, he had 10 PBS specials. He holds the record. Yes. He's written many, many books. He's spoken all over the world, and he is just one of the wisest men that ever lived. So, you know, I looked up to him so much, and I told him about my plans for the hall. He goes, "Oh, you got to do that." And I said, "You know, I'm thinking about writing a book." And I said, "How did you write so many books?" He goes, "Mike, in order to get your dreams to come true, you need to set and achieve impossible goals." And I said, "Well, how do you do that?" He goes, "You start. Whatever your dreams are, you just start. It's as simple as that." So I said, "Okay." I said, "Now, I watched your movie, The Shift. How did you do that?" He goes, "I started." That's all you got to do. He goes, "Life's very simple. Just get it done." I said, "Okay." So I started doing a movie. In this audience is Jennifer Barr, and she came to see me talk. And because of Jennifer, I got to do a TEDx talk. And it was one of the greatest days of my life. She said, "Mike, you've got an idea worth spreading." And that was awesome. I got to do a TEDx Berkeley talk in front of 1,500 people in 2017. So the other thing that is a good story about this hall that I can share with you is that when you have something to give, it makes people happy. And something tragic happened in my little sister Catherine's life about 5.5 years ago. She gives me a call, and she says, "Mike, the doctors have told me that little Carlin Rose, who's 3 years old, has terminal cancer, and there's nothing we can do. Just take her home to die." And I said, "Lord," I said, "I cannot have this tragedy befall my family." So I said, "If you will spare Carlin Rose's life, I will give up alcohol for the rest of my life." 3 weeks ago, I get a phone call from Catherine, my sister. And she says, "Mike, I've got good news. Carlin Rose is now 5 years free of cancer, and I haven't had a drop of alcohol." Now, while all of this was going on, Catherine was put up at the Ronald McDonald House in Philadelphia for free for almost a year. And Make-A-Wish built a jungle gym in her backyard. And so when I was thinking about who should go in the hall, of course, my first thoughts were Make-A-Wish and Ronald McDonald House. And on our first Happiness Hall of Fame event, they were here on the stage, and they got to share with everybody the good work that they're doing. So the two things that I learned about how to have a happy life that I can share with you tonight that you can take away is, number one, be charitable. In the 4th century, St. Augustine said, "It's in giving that we receive." So I have taken that upon myself. I had to leave Merrill Lynch, where I manage hundreds of millions of dollars, as a financial advisor in Menlo Park, because I wanted to give away 10% of my profits. The firm wouldn't let me. So I said, "Okay, I'll start my own firm." So I called it, what else? Happiness Wealth Management, right? And now I get to give away 10% of my profits to charity, which brings me a lot of joy. And the other thing that I would say is to set and achieve impossible goals. All of you tonight have something on your heart, some dream that you want to have fulfilled. I can tell you, after writing 5 books, after meeting people that I never thought I'd ever meet and learning from them, after filming and making a movie that I'm still shooting tonight, I can tell you that all you have to do is start. You can do this. You can do it. You can do whatever you set your mind that you want to do. All you have to do is start. Thank you. Thank you.